The phrase big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games was tailor-made for moments like this. If the Cowboys don't have some big-time players step up and slow down these specific Ducks, we might actually be the ones that can cry victim afterwards.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at All-Day State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, attention to detail, there's more to Mazda as well. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda moment. Move and be moved by Mazda. All right, y'all, we get to slide right into this conversation. This one isn't going to surprise a whole lot of individuals out there. Oregon has a significant amount of talent. It's apparently controversial to talk about their NIL collective paying for top-notch talent, but the victimhood mentality from some of the Oregon fans, not all of you, it could be put to bed here. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys could be the ones getting victimized on the football field if we do not step up and stop these particular players. Yes, I've been ragging a little bit on Dante Moore. I think he's very good, but I think he is susceptible to allowing some Cowboy moments in this ball game. But it's imperative that we have somebody like a Jaleel Johnson or a Wendell Gregory or a Malik Charles step up and find a way to not only contain Dante Moore, but make life miserable for him. If we can force some turnovers from Dante Moore, the Cowboys are absolutely going to have a chance. But he's not on necessarily the list of people that I think we absolutely have to slow down. The other Moore is, for sure, Dakorien Moore. This is going to be the biggest matchup of Cam Smith's career as the full-time, bona fide, certified starter, especially when you're talking out of context, national perception angles. This is a massive moment for Cam Smith and the Cowboys secondary in general. The susceptibility for the Cowboys defensively against UT Martin seemed to be the safety position. Is this a big moment for Parker Robertson, David Kabongo, Jacoby Oliphant playing a little bit of linebacker, also could play some safety? Does Cam Epps finally make his return? Is DeAndre Boykins, the North Carolina transfer, prepared to get out there and make some things happen? Parker Robertson is a phenomenal story, and clearly he probably started because he does everything the right way. But athletically, he's going to have to bring the hammer to slow down this high-flying Oregon attack. Additionally, we do know that Cowboy starting center Kason Carpenter is likely out for this game, which means Austin Kweke is potentially going to be this one that slides in there. Kweke being the number 2 at almost every single position across the board makes that a natural transition. However, when you're going up against somebody like Amari Washington, that's an absolute problem. The dude is massive, right? He moves like a defensive end. He has the ability to flip his hips and deceptively get into the passing lanes if you're trying to do a crossing route or a drag route from a tight end or something to that effect. For being that size, it's almost a criminal offense that somebody is that agile, that aggressive, and that fluid with their motions. Whenever he gets off the ball, Montana State, they didn't have a chance. They didn't even have a chance to put enough hands on him to double team him. So this is going to be a massive test against a backup center for Oklahoma State. Yes, Austin Kweke has a lot of tools in his tool bag, but I would imagine that Oregon lines up in zero technique and tests Kason Carpenter out all day, every day. If we've got to add some 12 personnel, we got to find a way to chip out of the backfield. There needs to be a somewhat creative way to try to slow him down, because if you can't slow him down, you're going to have a heck of a time with Mateo Ugalele. And I know I just probably destroyed that name, but I could never get the Clemson quarterback DJU's name appropriately done as well. So it is what it is. And then we get to move on. I think whenever you're talking about this Oregon attack, Mekhi Hughes had 1,400-yard season at Tulane, was easily one of the top running backs, if not the top running back out of the transfer portal. And he doesn't even seem to be on the 2 deep. He might be RB3. It could have been gamesmanship. They did throw 7 running backs out there. But Noah Whittington is a dude that's been in the program for a while. He's been developing. He's been biding his time. He's been paying attention. He understands what they need out of him offensively. And because they had got to play, not had to play, got to play 7 running backs. We don't know exactly what to look for out of the Oregon rushing attack. We do know they have a very good offensive line. We do know that that is going to be somewhat problematic. And we also know that if you're going to complement Dante Moore, you got to have somebody in the backfield that can take the top off of the defense, or at least make the back end of the defense be more honest. Noah Whittington seemed to be the running back for Oregon that had the most capabilities to put pressure on the defense in max capacity. So I think that in order for the Cowboys to have a chance at winning this ball game, you have to find a way to negate the benefits that Noah Whittington has in the backfield in conjunction with Dante Moore. And then we've got to talk about another dude before we skedaddle on off to the next section here, and that's going to be tight end Sadiq. I firmly believe that Kenyon Sadiq is a first-round talent. He is the prototypical mold of what NFL executives are looking for in a tight end. Big enough to block, strong enough to hold his own down there in an ace style of set formationally, if you're in red zone, short yardage, etc. But he moves like a tight end, he moves like a wide receiver, has the catch radius of a wide receiver, has the moves of a wide receiver. If we're going to look for an Oklahoma State comp, he's like an Adarius Bowman, but he just so happens to play tight end. So this is going to be a massive test, whether it be, Bryan McCoy picking him up out of the backfield, whether it be Jacoby Oliphant, whether it be Brandon Rawls, even if Trip White were to get in the game, Chindavian Bradley could be somebody that has the size, skill, and speed to kind of stick with Kenyon Sadiq. But I think whenever you talk about guys like Dakorien Moore and Washington and Whittington and Sadiq, and even to some degree, obviously Dante as well, this is going to be a problem. And then also defensively, you have to worry about their safety, Thieneman, that came over from Purdue. That potentially is another first to second round dude that Oklahoma State's going to have to contend with. If we try to match player for player and shut down all of their best players, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the Cowboys to get a W here. And even though getting a W is unlikely, we have the capability individually to make some things happen. We do know that we saw some promising things out of a few players. I think Cam Smith is one of them. Is UT Martin going to stretch the field and test Cam Smith? Obviously, probably not. But Oregon 100% will. So if Cam Smith is going to make an announcement to the world that, hey, I'm here, I'm the starter for a reason, I beat out guys like J.K. Johnson and Jalen Davies because I'm certifiably going to be that dude, this has to be the game that we see it come together. Same could be said about Jaleel Johnson. Same could be said about a decent number of these dudes. Speaking of their tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, is this a Josh Ford moment? Because game one, it almost felt like kind of smoke and mirrors, and maybe we're not going to utilize him in the passing game as we had thought coming into the season. This is the game that we have to find out, because we're going to need some extra protection for Zane Flores. We're going to need some extra dump-off abilities in the catching department for Zane Flores, not just blocking, which I do think more 11, 12 personnel is going to be beneficial. We could even go 13 personnel if we have the full complement of tight ends available. But regardless of what the personnel packages are going to look like, we have to slow these particular Ducks down, or it's going to be a long day. AKA, we got to have dudes making massive dude ESPN Sports Center top 10 level plays to give the Cowboys a shot here. Before we get to that, I do have to mention upside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big opportunity for you Locked On Oklahoma State fans. Are you out here still paying full price for gas because you're just throwing money away? Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play Store right now, and you'll start earning cash at the pump immediately. Use the limited promo code right now, football, and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already need anyways. At first, I, like you, potentially thought that this was a little bit too good to be true, but I totally get it. We use it. It is realistic. It puts real money back into your hands. So real people are out here getting paid just for their daily commutes. You can do the same thing. Don't miss out on this opportunity for you. And you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other amazing brands. Don't let this offer drive right on by you. Download the free Upside app right now and start using the limited promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time, 25 cents per gallon bonus. That is promo code FOOTBALL. Offers may vary by user and location. Make sure that you go to the upside.com website for terms and conditions. Stop throwing money away whenever you can get paid for something you have to do no matter what. It is time to drive into your future with Mazda. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward moment just for you, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Because these moments do more than just win. They push what's possible even further. They remind us to go the extra yard, to shift the extra gear, to keep moving the game forward constantly. If you're going for it, no matter what it is, whether it's a post-game interview, positive outlook, you got to keep things moving forward, just like Mazda. This is what keeps fans and players alike, moving forward, always chasing the next great moment, the next great opportunity. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the only beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's also more to every single Mazda vehicle. Make Mazda the move for you, because you can move and also be moved today in a Mazda. All right, ladies and gentlemen, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. The terminology of it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmys and the Joes. You have to buy in it at least to some degree. And there was a coach that was speaking over the weekend. I can't recall precisely who it was, but anywho, it may have been Brian Kelly over the LSU conversation. But anywho, he said big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And that is precisely what happened with the LSU matchup. More so than ever, there's probably a ton of validity to that statement. And there's a ton of conceptual value that you can take away from that. I think that the X's and O's still provide leverage and put people in the best positions to be successful. But being in the best position to be successful is worth a hill of beans if you don't have massive moments, right? Like you look at Alabama specifically. From a talent perspective, there's not very many teams in the country that can probably match up with Oregon. Alabama is one of those teams. Yet in that ball game, Alabama was just not very disciplined. They had guys in the wrong places at the wrong times. They had dudes that were supposed to be on contain that weren't getting outside far enough. They had guys that were responsible for rolling over to provide a little bit of extra help over top, and they weren't doing that. They were trying to break in on the undercut routes. And it's just the little intangibles to the game. And that is some of my concern, is the complexity of the Oklahoma State defense under new DC Todd Grantham. The ability to pick it up and implement it at its full capacity in week 2 is highly unlikely. So the only way we're going to be able to counterbalance all of the talent, the speed, the athleticism, the ability that Oregon is going to bring to the fold is by having some massive moments. Or we mentioned Cam Smith having one of the biggest, if not the biggest, oppositional matchup of his career as a starter at Oklahoma State, going to go up against Dakorien Moore. We touched a little bit about guys like Jaleel Johnson. He lived in the backfield, and now the other defensive end on the other side, his counterpart, Deshaun Brown, is out for at least a little bit of a time, which means that now Jaleel Johnson's going to have to take on a bigger role. He's going to have to do a little bit more, whether it be Malik Charles being the jack linebacker that makes some crazy stuff happen, or if Wendell Gregory improves on what is already an eye-opening week 1. If we don't have massive game-breaking moments, this is going to be difficult. Like you go back to Texas. Jason Taylor II taking one 90 yards to the house right before halftime when the Cowboys were down 17-3. That's what sparked that comeback. And that's what turned the tide in the second half for things to be entirely different. Dylan Stoner stepped up, had some massive, massive performances in games where we had some wide receivers down. And if he doesn't step up and make those crazy catches, Oklahoma State's record over the last few years does look somewhat different. Ollie Gordon, 2 years ago, literally put the team on his back and carried the load all the way to a Doak Walker Award and the #1 rushing season in the country. We have to have that. Terrell Davis showed a couple flashes of, okay, we might have a guy here, a wide receiver, that can be in that same breath of the Des Bryants and the Tylan Wallaces and the Justin Blackmans of the world. But we have to see it on this stage. Christian Fitzpatrick only had a couple targets. And, he was a big 6'4", 215-pound get out of Marshall, who naturally the Thundering Herd definitely found multiple ways to try to convince him to stay on campus because he's that talented. He's that important to production. But he only got a couple targets. So maybe that was by design. Maybe some of the noise out of fall camp on him isn't quite as high. But we have to have it. We have to see it. G Freaky, a.k.a. Gavin Freeman. Do I question some of the dancing? Yes. Is it possible to question his ability on the football field? Absolutely not. And I think from a wide receiver perspective, other than Terrell Davis, Gavin Freeman definitely looked like the biggest problem. And if you go back and watch that Montana State game against Oregon, that was one of the areas of deficiencies they seemed to have was mix-ups from the wide receiver route concepts and their ability, Montana State talking, their ability to get the receivers open and find them open lanes. It gave them opportunities. So if you're able to carry that film over to this game, this should be a big moment for Gavin Freeman. We know that Zane Train is rolling on station and Mr. Flores is going to be QB1 for the entirety of the game. We do have Banks Bowen, who's primarily a rushing threat, but why not sprinkle in a little Sam Jackson V? Could the returner, slot receiver, former 4-star quarterback add some wrinkles in the backfield? Don't know that it's going to happen, but I would assume just to give some extra eye candy and make the Oregon DBs respect the fact that we might throw some passes out of the backfield, whether it be on reverses or flea flickers or even something comparable to what UT Martin did. That was a pretty unique trick play that they had that scored their only touchdown of the game. We have to have big-time players stepping up in this one. I was on the Addicted to Quack show, and analytically, phenomenal stuff, right? Breaking down the differentiation between 11 technique and 9 technique, 0 technique, and how it makes sense on the football field. Beautiful stuff. And as he pointed out, when you go over some of the grading systems, even though Bryan McCoy had 14 tackles, he should have had like 22 tackles, right? So there was some missed opportunities in that game. And no doubt, Oregon is likely to attempt to exploit that. If you have a first-round tight end talent and you look at the same analytical components as that particular show did, then you're going to try to pick on Bryan McCoy and Brandon Rawls. You're going to make them try to stop you and beat you. If it happens, then you move on to a different plan. So we're going to need Bryan McCoy to do more, which, again, sounds kind of crazy after 14 tackles, living in the backfield, getting in on some of the other metrics like tackles for loss, sacks, etc. But you're going to have to do more. We're going to have some crazy plays in this game to give the Oregon Ducks a rough one. So, pick your poison. Is this a Caleb Hicks breakout moment? Is this a day that Trent Hallen is capable to help extend the drives for Oklahoma State, to give some of these other dudes moments? We mentioned Josh Ford didn't get a single target or reception in the previous game when he started last year as a true freshman at tight end. Definitely showed a lot of promise, which is precisely why after Oklahoma State, having 6, 7, 8 tight ends on the roster, there was an assumption that the tight end position was going to be utilized significantly more in this game. Tight end and running backs are always the best safety blanket for a quarterback that is walking into a hostile environment for his first start of his career. You have to have those dump-off protectionary routes built in to help the quarterback not only get in a better rhythm, but get himself out of a precarious situation if the play is breaking down or it's taking too long for the wide receivers to get open downfield. Whoever it is, this is that game. This is that day. The left side of the line looks pretty good. The right side of the line might be some patchwork. Oregon's likely going to try to expose the right side of the offensive line. So is this a moment where Nuku Mafi looks like an absolute dude. Noah McKinney, is he going to play guard? Is he going to slide over? Regardless, is it time for his PFF grades that he has done so well at, not only at UNLV, but also at Oklahoma State in, his playing time moments? Is that going to show forth in this game? Is Zane Flores going to grab life by the horns and show people why he's been the biggest name talked about in Cowboy quarterback country since Spencer Sanders? Right? Hosseini clearly showed everybody that he has the it factor. He's a gamer. Zane Flores looked a little uncomfortable, looked a little hesitant. Perhaps that was by design, but that can't happen against Oregon. Somebody on both sides of the ball is going to have to step up and have NFL moments. We got to see it out of Ollie. We got to see it out of Nick Martin. We got to see it out of DeJon Stribling. We got to see it out of Brennan Presley. We're going to have to see it out of some dudes in this group. So let me know down in the comments section, who are the big-time players that you expect to make those groundbreaking moments? But again, like Tylan Wallace versus Texas, going up in double coverage and jumping over the defenders and then skipping his way into the end zone, or stiff arming multiple people going down the sideline. Traditional normal plays, chunk yardage here and there, probably not going to get it done. We're going to have some breakout star moments, kind of like we saw out of Hosseini in those 3 series and Wendell Gregory. We need more of that. We need tons of that. If that happens, the Cowboys definitely have an opportunity to keep this thing close. And if you can keep it a fist fight in a phone booth for 4 quarters, anything can happen. All bets are off. If it's a close game in the 4th, the Cowboys have as good a shot as winning as anybody else in the country, as long as big-time players step up. We got to have Tylan Wallace, Justin Blackmon, Ollie Gordon, Brennan Presley style of moments in this game, or it could get ugly kind of quickly. Speaking of getting ugly kind of quickly, if you're having some difficulty acquiring enough food in your belly, well, might as well have it brought to you with DoorDash. It is almost the weekend, college football weekend, NFL football weekend. It's time to look back and crown the MVP. Who delivered the most, powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it matters most. So let's break it down. For Oklahoma State, Wendell Gregory is the dude who delivered in a massive way. His ability to come in, first game, redshirt freshman, tie a Big 12 record in sacks in a pretty big way, shows us that when the pressure was on, he was the dude that came through in the end. No hesitation, no delay. He was ready to pin his ears back and make some crazy things happen. We have to have more of that this week, or it'll be viewed as a fluke. Wendell Gregory is currently on a streak, just like DoorDash. It can be delivered to Oklahoma State fans all the time. DoorDash delivers even on game day Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, like Wendell Gregory is currently on, you can save on Saturday with your order. Stack all of it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive for Wendell Gregory. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. If a player's on a multi-week tear, well, tie that to your ability to get squared away with DoorDash. Have it delivered to you on game day. Don't deal with the madness of going out and dealing with the public. Whenever you can have it brought to you and get on a streak yourself with DoorDash. All righty, now we get to talk about the Big 12 power rankings. And I'll be 100% honest with you. We've seen some of these rankings matriculating out there. And to me, some of it's a little wild. Because anybody that has anybody other than Iowa State as number 1 in the power rankings just seems a little crazy to me. Because not only are they undefeated, but they're 2-0 instead of 1-0 with a conference W already in their back pocket. So how you don't have Iowa State number 1 in any power rankings anywhere doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So naturally, of course, it's the most common sense answer to have Iowa State number 1 in my personal opinion. I went back and forth here between Utah and TCU for that number 2 spot. But both teams absolutely blew the doors off of their opponents. So the question is, who's better, North Carolina or UCLA? North Carolina did not look very good. UCLA didn't either. But just because they have Nico Amalivinya, that carries a lot of cachet. So give me, begrudgingly to some degree, Utah, number 2 in my power rankings, followed by TCU in number 3. Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, number 4. I don't see how you couldn't. Again, another team that's 2-0. Jalen Daniels looks like the Jalen Daniels of the Anil Kotelnicki era. If he can continue that, and the way that they're absolutely blowing the doors off of teams they should, yes, of course, then their record is going to get even better. They have a huge matchup against Mizzou. The Big 12 needs this one. If they play like they've been playing, I have faith in the Jayhawks. Next up, you got to go with tortilla throwing Taco Reckham Tech. Yes, Baron Morton went out, which is the storyline for Texas Tech the last few seasons. It's not going to be a matter of talent, depth, ability. I think health is going to be the biggest component to whether Texas Tech has the season that it seems like they're capable of having. So naturally, give me Tech here next, followed by the BYU Cougs. I cannot tell you how much I hate seeing a quarterback rock number 47. It's like an eyesore that hurts my eyeballs. It's like watching a Boise State game with that blue Smurf turf. It gives me a headache. Watching the number 47 be actually pretty daggone good, it's annoying, all right? Well, let's call it what it is. But the rest of the team look pretty daggone good. And Bear Bachmeier, even though he wears a third-string fullback's number, he looked pretty impressive for a true freshman. So give me the BYU Cougs next. I was impressed with Arizona. That was one of those games in the beginning of the season. Oklahoma State was going to roll into Wildcat country and likely get a dub. They did what they're supposed to against an inferior opponent, but they made it convincing. There was never a point in that game where you were like, oh, Arizona might have a troublesome season. They look pretty good. They did what they're supposed to. So give me Arizona here. Followed by Houston, another team. Could they have put up more points, essentially? Yes, they could have. Could they have been more aggressive and tried to step on the throat? Yeah, they could have. But they looked pretty decent in the W. Connor Weigman looked very serviceable. The offensive line looked really good. Got to give a shout-out to Jason Queso-Brooks, just like we got to give a shout-out to Lyric as Rock Chalk's about to take on Mizzou. Yeah, I mean, it may not last long, but as of right now, you got to give me the Houston Cougs next. Another team that was kind of surprising, especially after watching that first half against Robert Morris, is the WVU Mountaineers. That second half, that looked like a team that can be competitive in the Big 12 all the way to the end. That second half, WV looked like a team that should be able to not only beat a very good Ohio team, but give Pitt all that they can handle. Then I think we got to go Arizona State. Poo-poo on ESPN Plus for letting the thing go black for most of the game. So you likely didn't get to see it. But if you go back and watch the highlights, it took him a little bit of time to get comfortable. But Sam Levitt made some crazy throws. Sam Levitt, Rocco Becht, definitely as advertised. Next, you got to give me my Cowboys. Like, what are we doing here? We got the dub. They only scored 7 points off of a trick play. The rest of it, defensively, we shut them down. They only had 4 drives of, stringing anything together the entire night. Give me the Cowboys based off the defense and how exciting Haas looked pretty early on. K-State, they're kind of driving the struggle bus at the moment. So that's why I do, in fact, have them this low, followed by Baylor. What a bad look for the Big 12. And people are talking about Sawyer Robinson throwing for 420 yards or whatever the case may be. Let's stop the cap and chill out a little bit, Baylor Nation. The Big 12 needed that W. The Big 12 needed a better representation of what Baylor put on the field. So, yes, Sawyer Robertson threw for 420 yards or whatever it was, but on almost 50 passing attempts for somebody that was coming into the season as a potential, top-end number 1 quarterback in the conference, got to do better. Stop with this. We have the best quarterback in the Big 12 business. Unless you can handle business against SMU and kind of rewrite some wrongs and give the Big 12 a little bit of an added boost, miss us with all of the bull honky. Next, I got to go with Cincinnati. Yes, they lost, but they played pretty daggone well and we're talking about some of the best rosters money can buy, Nebraska's in that ballpark. They're in that club of top dollar NIL spenders. So they should have had a bigger separation than Cincy. So shout out to Cincy, putting up a valiant effort. But at the end of the day, it's still a loss that still does kind of reflect negatively to some degree on the Big 12. Colorado, I mean, this one's on Coach Prime, really. And, Caden Salter made some big-time plays, but he also missed wide open dudes that would have walked into the end zone or would have easily gone for 50, 60, 70-plus yards if he just makes the little bitty, baby out route completions or a wheel route from a running back. If Caden Salter makes the simple plays and Deion Sanders doesn't try to get too cute with game management and clock management, or, hand the ball off to the dude that's getting 6.7 yards a carry, then perhaps this game does look a little bit different. So I'm not going to completely poo-poo on Colorado because Georgia Tech is projected to be a team that's competitive for an ACC title. But, we got to do a little bit more here. And then lastly, not a surprise, the UCF Knights. Scott Frost has now won 14 games in a row as the head man, dating back to his last stop as a UCF Knight. But it was ugly. It was a really ugly W. And it doesn't look like, from one game, UCF has enough horses to even be close to competitive in the Big 12. However, I'm sure some people are saying that about the Cowboys after their UT Martin game. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor. Hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast people out there. Without you, this would be nothing. So I appreciate you. Help me out. Hook it up. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All right, y'all. Later, taters.